Okay, well, I'm back. I'm back for another video, and like I said in the last video, I wanted to show you a folder that contains the work that I've been doing along those lines of failing your way to the top. This is I use scrap paper, so you might see what are some assignments that I've had, because I work as a substitute teacher. So this is from one school, but I'll use the backside to write notes. And let me see if I could. This is some things I write that come to light, and it has to do with failing your way to the top. So as it says here, this is one something I wrote here in this page right here. You can see that. It says here, like, if something is automatically done, as in a automatic transmission, using that as a metaphor, the automatic transmission of a vehicle, right? You don't think about placing your foot on the clutch. It just happens. Those that are successful academically operate automatically. They can't tell you how to succeed academically because they are unaware of the subconscious mental processes that make it happen. They have no idea where that mental clutch is or how it functions. I, on the other hand, do, because I was not born with that genetic advantage. I had to manually produce these structures not evident to those belonging to that group of academic superstars. And I finalized by saying that my drive is not self-aggrandizement. It is a reflective process whereby the specialist core, I call it specialist core biology, chemistry, physics, and math, and the social sciences, sociology, and psychology, because those deal with our, they have a lot to do with metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. And then I relate also, biology, chemistry, physics, and math to those psychological processes and sociological processes in terms of group function and group identities. So I put here, it's a reflective process whereby the specialist core is a tool to instill and produce those inward psychological beneficial ordering functions. And then I go into what a function is, right? Mathematically, a function is a relationship between two variables, a specific type of relationship. If human relationships operated like mathematical functions, this would be a perfect world. So these are notes that having to do with this whole process of failing your way to the top. And that one is that paragraph that I read to you, and I could have read anywhere because I just randomly picked that that paragraph, deals with something I want to talk to you about today. Just put this over here. And I'm working on this daily, so this is not this is a labor of love, because I've been able to transform myself from a academic failure into a academic success. I hit the keyboard. As I said before, I went from dropping out in high school at the age of 16, and it took me almost 20 years to complete my high school diploma and my college degree. But I graduated at the top of my class, summa cum laude, graduated through the honors college, and I was accepted into Phi Beta Kappa, which I think Phi Beta Kappa is the #1 honor society in this country, that they pick you to join it. So, and like I said there, this is not about self-aggrandizement. This is not about showboating, because I'm still a work in progress, like all of us, I'm still trying to fail my way to the top, because I guess in terms of work, I'm not where I want to be. I'm working as a substitute teacher. I work as a security guard. I drove a taxi for a while. That's bankrupt. I drive Uber. I recently got my tractor trailer license. Let me show this. Well, this is from when I graduated from FIU. That's a video for another day because it's incredible the amount of people that graduate and are the jobs there for these graduates. And especially for those that graduate at the top, there are no guarantees from your college or university. I think there should be. Anyway, just so you can see that as that is my certificate to drive a tractor trailer. And I'm probably leaving tonight to California with a co-driver. So what is it that I want to talk to you guys about today? Specifically, something that I'm guilty of, and I still am, but I'm getting better at catching myself. At a subconscious level, and I'm going to use the example, right? And all this relates to failing your way to the top. That's the overarching theme. How we're going to fail our way to the top through progressive failures, learning from our failures and moving forward. Now, specifically, I'm going to reference, like, let's say you're taking a test, SAT, an MCAT, any test, the LSAT, any test that involves the standardized test, an entry exam, either to law school or college or medical school or whatever. So you're going to have to read, you're going to have passages that you're going to have to read. It's going to be timed, you're going to have to answer questions at the end of them. And that causes people a lot of stress. The other day I was working at a specialized school on Key Biscayne, and I was talking to this kid, and he got accepted into MIT. And I'm very fascinated by people that when they're very young, they're teenagers, and they're academic superstars, and they're able to achieve so much, and so they're able to achieve so much in such a short period of time. So I asked them, specific about reading passages, because there doesn't seem to be a formula, right? To be able to take a reading passage, and when you look at the questions and the answers, that using this formula you will always get the right answer. There seems to be some type of uneasiness about it. So I asked him about specifically about reading passages. He took the SAT 3 times. The first time he got like a 1480, the second time a 1520, and then the third time I think a 1580. The highest is a 1600, right? And that allowed him to get into MIT. He took it 3 times. And we were talking specifically about reading passages. And he told me, well, I just did these passages over and over again. And I took the SAT until I got the score that I wanted. But what was interesting about this is that other people might take the SAT as many times as they want, and their scores won't dramatically rise, right? But in terms of this, specific student that got accepted to MIT, and he's the only one from that school that year, or this year, because he is in the 12th grade. Today is, what is it? This is the 16th of January. Half the month of January is over, so it's got February, March, April, May, June, about 4 months. February, March, April, May. 4.5 months. The school finishes in Miami on June the 7th before he goes to MIT. So many people would have the same type of feeling about reading passages, that there is no formula. Well, when I look deeply into the reading passages, I feel that there is. And the type of advice that's given, like when you're in high school, it's so general that for me, the information, the guidance to be able to answer questions on a timed reading passage on a standardized test, that advice is so general that it might as well be useless. It's the same, to me, personally, it's the same type of uselessness that I feel when I would look at a physics textbook, and it gives you like this general problem-solving guide, right? It is so general that they might as well said, go to the refrigerator and drink a glass of water, and that'll help you to solve physics problems. So I've looked deeply into this, and there is more specific, detailed information in terms of how to be able to formulaically be able to answer questions on on a timed reading passage, and also how to be able to solve problems in a physics textbook. And I'm referring to, you know, physics with calculus 1 and physics with calculus 2, that those two courses that you are taking in college. And in future videos we're going to go into specific details. I'm going to start at page 1 from a textbook and work. So primarily I mean, like I said, the overarching theme of this is fail your way to the top, but and that's the general view. The particular view, the particular analysis for me is going to deal specifically with pre-med classes and medical school. But of course, we have to finish our pre-med classes first, right? We have to do that first. So now I'm going to talk about something that, as I said, that deals with, you know, I'm going to use the reading passages as an example. Let's say you're reading something from a reading passage, and you know, you're understanding the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and you get to, let's say, the third paragraph, and you hit a brick wall, and you don't understand what is going on there. See, subconsciously what happens in our minds, right? And I was thinking about this yesterday, right? Whereas people like that student that, you know, he got accepted into MIT at a subconscious level, sort of like automatic transmission, right? And the car automatically changes gears. You don't have to, you know, push in a clutch, you know, stick shift into first, you know, and then, you know, when you go to a certain speed, then you know the clutch, you push in the clutch, you know, push it into a second gear. You know, it's automatically done. Students like that they score very high at a very young age. He's only 17 years old. Subconsciously, they subconsciously produce order, right? So I call it an order producing structure. It's a subconscious structure that takes that information and breaks it apart into pieces, and, you know, assigns this to a category. Like, for example, a specific example, I was reading a reading passage, and there was a question that dealt with child care responsibilities, right? And let me see if I can find this right here, so I could, you know, we could get to something, you know, concrete and specific. Let me see if I can find it right here. Yeah, here's a reading passage from. I was covering a class in reading, and this passage deals with. It says it's adapted from the novel *The Ground Beneath Her Feet* by Salman Rushdie. And one of the questions. Okay, this is question number 5. Question number 5. It says, which of the following statements best captures how the narrator's parents balance their parental duties with their work at the construction company? Right? So it has, you know, A, B, C, and D. So if we look at A states that, you know, if we summarize A, well, A says the narrator's mother did the majority of the work at the construction company, while the narrator's father took care of the narrator being the child. So A deals with the father did most of the child care responsibilities. B says it was like evenly traded off between mother and father. So between mother and father, they arranged for child care responsibilities. C said it was the father alone and not the mother. And then D said that neither father nor mother, right? It was the babysitter. Like D says, the narrator's parents both worked at the construction company, while the narrator stayed home with a babysitter. Now, why do I read those 4 choices to you? So somebody like that, you know, goes to MIT will immediately look at each choice and realize it without having to read the entire answer choice. We realize, well, A deals with mother only, not father. B deals with child care responsibilities being held between mother and father. C deals with father, not mother. And D, neither father nor mother. See, subconsciously, they have this order-producing structure. They're able to answer that question quickly. In a majority of us, what happens is we have not order-producing structures, disorder-producing structures. So it's going to take that. It's going to take that answer, and it's not going to, those 4 answer choices is not going to break it down into 4 possibilities, right? That these people are able to do it at a subconscious level. I had to do that manually. I looked at it, and then I saw that, okay, mother, yes, Father, no. Father, yes. Mother, no. Equally shared between mother and father, neither mother nor father. What's going to happen with us is the nervousness of the test, the fear that we don't have enough time, because those of us that suffer from being victims of a subconscious that produces disorder instead of order, is that it's going to be unable to gauge how much time has elapsed, right? Because every minute has 60 seconds, but you're in fear that you don't have enough time to complete the reading passage, and that fear makes you lose more time. And people like him, and this is something very interesting, that as I speak to more people who are very successful academically versus those of us that have not been successful, they enter into these tests with minimal to no anxiety. And I know for many of you that would be like, that's impossible. But how can a person score so high when, if a majority of his energy is going towards his fear, his nervousness, and his anxiety? There's no time to answer the question. See, most of every individual, right? Those that are produce order and those that produce disorder at the subconscious level, whether it's a reading passage or getting into business or, doing household chores, it doesn't matter what it is. And we have an equal amount of energy. For those of us to be able to efficiently allocate that energy, most of it has to be employed towards what we're doing. If not, then most of the energy is going to be wasted in fear and anxiety and, oh, what if, and I'm not sure, and I don't have enough time. And then, we'll get maybe 60, 70% of the questions correct or not, or it could be worse, or even 80%, because 80, 85% still won't cut the bill. You're not going to get into the school that you want to by getting a B, the equivalent of a B on an SAT test, I mean, if you want to be at the top. So we produce disorder subconsciously, and we're unaware of it. So the first step is to be aware of what we're doing, admit to it, and accept it, that this is part of who we are, and then work, right, to find a way around it, right? For example, in my personal case, what I've done is when I get to that part that I don't understand, I consciously tell myself, I'm not going to allow this which I do not understand to do harm to that which I do understand. Because what happens is we get to that little 20% we don't understand. We make that the focus of all our understanding, which is not understanding. And then the mind will take that which we do understand and transform it into not understanding information. I know that sounds bizarre and weird, but subconsciously that's what's going on. Because that which we do not understand, right? Let's say we were functioning like these academic superstars. That which we do not understand would be ordered by that which we do understand. Because he is human like us. It's not that he automatically understands as he reads it. There may be people like that. But I mean, let's say for the majority of people that doesn't happen, right? Because he took the SAT 3 times. So the first time and the second time, he did not get the scores he needed to get into MIT. And his mind may have been producing order at 70, 80% of the time, but it wasn't sufficient to produce order in that 20% of the time. So he had to take that SAT 3 times. But by the third time, his mind was producing sufficient order at a subconscious level that it would take not understood material and transform it into understood material. And that's what happens with us. We take that which we do not understand, right? When we come to it's happened to me, you know what you don't know, okay? Like if if you're lost, you know you're lost, right? And will be an interesting video for those that may be lost and may not even realize it. That would be a further, and now I'm looking at everything in terms of a spectrum, right? So in terms of degradation, like sort of like signal loss, like a static noise, that's closer to a further degradation when you don't even realize what you don't understand. But for this video, we're going to deal with, we understand that this material right here, we do not know it. We do not understand it. And we're not deluding ourselves in that we do understand it. And that's very important. Know what you know and know what you don't know. So we get to that part which we do not understand. First of all, we have to look at what we do understand. It's sort of like the glass half full. To know what we know to take what we know, that information, to help us to disentangle that which we do not know. Whether it's a reading passage, whether it's information, questions asked on a standardized test, like I said, LSAT, SAT, MCAT. NCAT is my interest. Or whether it's we're in a class, the professor is talking a mile a minute, you know, he's talking faster than the information that we could write down, and you know, we feel completely lost at what he's saying. There's going to be something there that you do understand, right? Like I said, if you saw this huge equation, like that movie, The Time Machine, with Pierce, was it Guy Pearce? I think that's the actor, where, you know, in the beginning of the film, his girlfriend dies, and then he gets obsessed with creating a time machine, and they have a scene where they have this big blackboard, and he has all these equations, right? And you can see stuff there like from calculus and differential equations and physics. You know, you see things like spinning and this type of movement and different type of forces and different types of derivatives and integrals and partial derivatives, and you know, you can see all these different types of equations. So I give that as an example. You could look at that, and I've shown that to many different people. Like, oh my God, I don't understand that. See, automatically our brain enters into a fearful mode. It looks at this and says it cannot grasp it, and since it can't take it all at once, it says it can't take any of it at once. Whereas people who are academic superstars, and we have to learn to be like that, they do it automatically. We have to do it manually. There's stuff there you do understand. You see a ratio, you see a division, you see that this is being divided by that so much of this is being broken apart by this amount, right? In the numerator, right? Is being broken apart by what's in the denominator, right? And it's what I call like even in equal distributions, right? If you have, you know, let's say in the numerator, you know, 2,376, and then in the denominator you have 1,587, you know, there's an assignment that for every two of those, there's one of these, you know? And how to take things that look apparently very difficult. Let me use that example again, and I'll go back to the time machine analogy. If you have a number like 2,678 divided by 1,158, well, it's you know, for every two, it's one, right? If you round it off. So you get to like a general answer, and that moves you closer to the actual answer. But there's a movement going on, and it's a path, that's leading you towards the correct answer. So when you see that huge chalkboard in that scene, right? There's many things there you might not know. There's many things that I don't remember because I took calculus 1, I took calculus 2. I don't remember it, but I can look at there's derivatives, there's integrals, there's ratios, there's multiplication occurring here. I see something there in the shape of certain forces, you know, so that is a movement towards understanding something that seems unintelligible. And the same goes with our reading passages. You're looking at this information, right? And you've read 80% of it, and 20% of it you don't understand. We cannot allow that 20% to dominate or to control or to transform the 80% that we do. We understand the majority of it. You know, reading passages is not going to be so unintelligible that, you know, it's going to be 100% not understood information, you know, especially on a timed test. You're going to understand most of it, you know. That 20% then has to be broken down, understood by using that 80% to understand that 20%. And I've seen that work for myself personally. So this is a very important problem that we all have. We have to get out of the all or nothing thinking and into what I call a bits and pieces thinking, you know? That we're going to take something, we're going to break it down into bits and pieces. And we're going to break it down into fundamental parts, as René Descartes said in Rules for the Direction of the Mind. And you're going to break it down into such elemental pieces that what's going to be left is like, you know, the building blocks that children use to learn. You know, you're gonna break everything down. Let's say in something that's so complex, so difficult mathematically, into what this other prodigy, mathematical prodigy, told me is, you know, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Because all math is that, no matter how complex it is. It just has different forms, different transformations, different arrangements, different substitutions, right? different language, you know, dx dt, right? So what is that? You know, what does that mean? You know, dx over dt, right? The type of notation that's used for calculus. But from the instance, we already see that there's a ratio there, right? That there's a slope. That there's the change in x over the change in time, right? As something changes, as something moves, its distance over time, right? And then we get to see, well, that's speed, right? And then we get, you know, to the first derivative, the second derivative, right? Acceleration. So we start to put these things together in terms of who we are internally, and then we get to a point that we're understanding the information, which has a relevance beyond what's in the textbook itself. This second video is a little less general than the first one, and I'm going to start moving towards that, right? It's going to become more particular and less general. I'm going to give more specific examples in upcoming videos of information that I know, that I haven't studied in a while, information that I don't know. I took physics with calculus 1 and physics with calculus 2, but I don't remember any of that. And more than likely I have to take that over again because they're too old. And they're not, they wouldn't allow them for many medical schools. I spoke to one that, just out of curiosity, says, well, you know, doesn't matter how old it is. Others were saying, no, you know, if it's older than 5 years or 10 years, that's too old. So, but I want to get into that, you know. I want to get, you know, specifically when I speak about failure way to the top, it's going to deal with that. But the general behavior, techniques, and tactics that we're going to discuss in failing your way to the top are applicable to any endeavor that a human wants to commit himself to and finds a significant challenge in overcoming. And we're going to deal with that in upcoming videos. So to summarize what I've said throughout these, it's already 27 minutes, is that we're going to look at information, we're going to read information, we're going to be satisfied with what we know. When we get to something that we don't know, we're not going to allow that to be the focus, to dominate that which we do not know, to transform it into information that we don't understand, because then we're lost completely, right? Because then we've made that which we don't understand the focus of everything. And that's not the reality of what's occurring. We've understood 70, 80% of it. Let's say less, 60%. But that's enough to take that 60%, right, and transform that which we don't know into what we don't know. That which we do not know, do not understand, into understood material. And that is the main focus. And also be able, like I said, you know, I want to form a community of people to discuss. I mean, any subject you have. Let's say somebody in a comment is like I go into medical school vlogs, and I hear you know, pre-med students, medical school students say, you know, they're nervous. Oh my God, I'm not gonna make it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know, if I fail, what's gonna become of me? But that's a very general and very powerful feeling, because I have it. I've had it, and I still have it, but I'm able to transform it and change it, you know? And the most beautiful part about it is I'm aware of it, and I have a game plan. So when I read stuff like that, I mean, I invite you to, what is it in particular that's causing you distress? Exactly what? I mean, just to my mind came hematology, I don't know, some class in pharmacology or whatever, or in organic chemistry. A specific chapter in organic chemistry dealing with reactions or something specifically. So let's jump into that as a group. I myself know nothing about that, but like I said, in the Feynman method of us having a discussion over that, we're going to get somewhere. Something is going to happen, and it's going to be beneficial. That I can guarantee you. You know, we'll look up information, and we'll dedicate all the time that we need to until it is understood. You know, as long as there is the willpower to understand, the dedication to having no time constraints, no matter how long it takes. You know, let's say, you know, right now it's 3:40 p.m. and there's something in some chapter in organic chemistry we do not understand. Even if we have to be here 12 hours straight just drinking a glass of water with lemon, we will not stop until it is understood. And if we have a sufficient large enough group, it will be understood. Because in the group in which everyone is interested in the same subject, hoping to understand it for an upcoming test, and beyond that, to have it, you know, relevance, you know, psychologically, internally, we'll find the answer. It's nothing so complicated or so difficult that, you know, we're trying to discover something that's going to win us the Nobel Prize. This is information that others have understood and we can understand. Many thousands have understood and we can understand it. There's certain mental blocks that are occurring at that moment in time that are not allowing us to disentangle that information in a way that it's completely understood. And in a future video, I want to talk about, you know, when we really know something, or when we believe we think we know something and we really don't. So I'm going on 31 minutes. I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to try to make these videos more on a weekly basis. Tonight I'm going to go drive the tractor trailer with my friend to California, and I'll be back. And when I come back, I'm going to make sure that I make, you know, at least a weekly video, or more than that. And my game plan is to the next semester, that'll be the spring summer semester, sign up, you know, for a full, not, you know, not part-time, full-time set of classes in the pre-med area, and get to doing this, you know. Put your money where your mouth is, like they say. All right, so hope to see you soon, and if you have any comments, I'm just beginning in this, so I haven't really had many comments from anyone, but that's good. You know, things take time for things to be able to, you know, gravitate towards, sort of hit a thrust, right? To be able to, you know, escape velocity, so that a sufficient number of people are interested in. I know it's going to take some time, but hey, I got 8 subscribers. That's a beginning. 30 views. So let's keep working on this, and let's help each other, you know, reach whatever dreams we have. All right, thanks.